Okay, so we're back with hour 2. So we can create accounts. We just can't auto log them in. So I've got a couple of accounts now. So now what we need to do is make it so that we don't get a 404, but we have a post handler for login as well. So for this one, rather than write the outline of it, again, here is your post method on Blackboard. So if you want to grab that, you can copy it in, and there are a couple of 3 blanks in here for you to fill in to get the login working. So grab that code. And let's add a So 3 blanks here for you guys to fill out. So add that item from Blackboard, see if you can complete those blanks, and then if you were able to successfully register, see if you can log in. If you do log in, where should you go? So if you think you have those 3 blanks completed, first try an invalid login, and then try a valid one with the account you just created. Anybody have an idea for the first blank, what we'll need here? So we're calling the authenticate method of, you got it. So this is a neat method. It means we don't have to hash the password. We don't have to go to the database and check. We just call passport.authenticate. It will do all that stuff for us. Okay. So the authenticate method takes a few parameters. The first parameter is, well, what's our strategy? What type of authentication? Because Passport will let us use all different kinds. So in this case, we're specifying local authentication, which means basically the users are stored in some kind of database. Could be local, could be remote. Our second parameter is, what page should we load upon successful, or what URL should we point to if the login is successful? So where do we want the user to go? What URL? Yeah, so this is not the name of a view, it's the name of a URL. So then it will run a GET request on that URL. What about if the login isn't authenticated? Where do we want to go? Yeah, so we want them to go here. Okay. I think we want the slash. This failure message, where is this going to get stored? Or what are we using that will, where's that message going to go? Yeah, that's what the flash is for. It basically allows us to put that message, use the session object to store that message. So then we can redirect to the login page. For now, if we put an invalid log, we should just get the login page again. Then we can add a bit of code that will actually print out any messages that are stored in the flash object. So let's try this out. So we're going to use Passport to try and authenticate the user against the local data store. If it works, show them the articles page. If it fails, reload the login page with a GET request, so the form is loaded again, and use the flash message to store an invalid login. So let's try this. So I do not have username test and test here. So if I click login, just takes me right back here, right? It tries, you can see it flash. So there actually is a message stored in our flash object, but we have to add some code to actually display it here. So we're going to need to open up the login.ejs view and add a little if statement at the top to say if there are any flash messages in the session, we want to display those. So the other thing we need to do when our page reloads, we're already passing it a title. We also want to pass it a second value, which is a list of messages. That list might be empty, or we might have something if there's been an unsuccessful login. So we'll use res.render, we'll pass it the title. We're also going to pass it, if we have an authenticated user, we can pass that user to the login page if we need to. We're also going to pass a list of messages. Here's how we get them. We use request session messages, or an empty array. If we don't have any, we'll just pass a blank. Otherwise, we'll pass the list of messages. So we're going to pass that to our login page. And the other thing we want to do, So let's say when the user enters an invalid login and the message says, so we've added here, we add invalid login to our list of session messages. If they then enter another bad login, this is going to just add a second invalid login message. So what we want to do after we pass the current list, we actually want to clear out the messages from the session, so it doesn't keep building up and says invalid login, invalid login, invalid login. Let's display what's in the session and clear it out. So we'll clear out session messages after. Cool. We'll just set it to an empty array. So whatever was in that collection before, that array before, is just gone. Otherwise, that collection just keeps getting added on to every time. So display the messages and then clear them. So now on our login.ejs view, we're going to need to write an if statement to check if we have any messages in the session. We want to display those above the form, and we can use Bootstrap, can use a class to show those messages in red. Actually, I guess the other thing I didn't check, I never checked whether my success login actually worked. We should probably check that as well. Let's maybe go to a new window. So when I try to log in with a valid login, I should hopefully get redirected off to the articles page. Well, maybe I need to create another account. Then open up our login.ejs. I think we will have to make a little adjustment in there. It's okay. So in views, auth, and login, above my form, we can use an if statement in our EJS templates. So if our messages.length is greater than 0, I'm going to open a curly brace, but I'm not going to close it here. So if we have any messages, just create a div. I'll output the message. And the div. And close my curly brace. So if we have any messages in the session, they'll get printed in red at the top of our form.
Does the spacing matter with the
No.
percentage signs?
No, I don't believe so. So now if I put in a login that isn't valid, my message shows up. I'll show you why we clear them out here. If I don't do this, I'll comment this out. So without clearing this out, watch what happens. So I'll go back to login. So when I log in once, it says invalid. If I try and log in again, I now have multiple messages because it's the session object, right? So those values persist. So after I display them, I want to get rid of them.
It's not going away though. Like if you reload the page, the invalid login is there now. Mine is anyways.
So you're saying if I reload it, you're right. It is. Yes, it is. I wonder if we put it before. We'll try this. So before we render the view, put it in a variable. I don't know if this will work. So put it in a local variable first, then clear out the session. And then load the view from our local variable. I don't know if this is going to make any difference or not. We could try it. So whenever your app restarts, it clears the session, obviously. Okay, so doing it that way seems to work. Yep, I will. I just wanted to try it first to see if it worked. Yeah, so first set a local variable equal to either our session messages or else it's empty. Then clear out the session. And then just pass our local variable to the view. So our session, we need to empty the session before we load the view. There was our workaround. Thank you for pointing that out to me, Matt. We'll store the session messages in a local variable. Clear the session messages. And then we'll show the view and pass in any messages that we might have. Now we need to see if we can log in. I'll make sure I'm putting in a proper login, that I know what I'm doing. Yes, I think we are missing one thing because it's not logging us in. It knows the login is valid, otherwise I'd be getting an invalid login message. Something's not quite right. And no errors in our console. So is your login just spinning like mine? Just passport. I am just trying to figure why our login spins. Oh, I have an idea. I'm just checking a few of my configurations. Obviously, I've missed one step in the process. Okay, well, it's 9:43. This should be what we need. Obviously, I'm missing something. Either in this file, in my account model, or in my app.js. It's not allowing me to log in. All right, well, we'll take an early break then. Give me a minute to figure it out, and then when we come back, we should be able to, I'll figure out the fix, and we'll see how to secure our articles pages. And we're gonna need authentication here as well.